All right, we are back. This is a kind of a throwback. We haven't done a recorded episode for a long time. I want to start doing these recorded episodes a little bit more. And no better group of guys to start it with than the one, the only Zagonel and the one and only Von Klaunzewitz. How are you guys doing? Von, go first, then Zag, go ahead.
Always a pleasure to be here. It's been a bit too long. I'm doing all right. Busy with projects, writing a giant research paper. Other than that, can't complain. How
Can't
are you?
complain. Zag, how are you?
Doing well, guys. Great to be here again, getting the old crew back together. And it's been an interesting time in U.S. politics. I can't say that I recall a more unstable moment than perhaps 9/11. Honestly, with uncertainty and who Biden's gonna uh, be, chosen over and so forth. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's actually a good place to start. We might as well just hop right in. What do you guys think of the soon to be announced or likely soon to be announced? Uh, how would you phrase this? The self removal of President Biden from the Democratic presidential nominee position due to his declining cognitive conditions. Who do you guys think the Democrat establishment wants to go with? Who do you think the Biden administration, the Biden campaign is going to endorse on the back of this? And who do you think has the best chance of winning out of all of the potential uh, nominees?
Oh man, that's a minefield. Uh, they don't have many options. I think Kamala's probably the ideal one because she's already the VP. She's already there. I'm not gonna rule out Hillary inserting herself into the running because of course she will. As for who has a better chance, I mean, if there wasn't the assassination attempt, that would be a much easier question to answer. That would have an answer that doesn't suck for Democrats. Uh, Trump's a living martyr now. Like you guys saw his address tonight. He's running a cult. He's a cult leader. He has this in the bag. This attempt won him the assassination. As he won him the assassination. Wow, won him the election. And I see a lot of people saying that it's the hype's not going to last until November, but I think it will. I think it's not a question of who's going to replace Biden with who has a chance to win. It's who are we going to sacrifice for this term.
And who do you think they're going to sacrifice, Clown?
I don't know. I mean, it'd have to be one of the veterans who's getting to that age where they're not going to run for a second term anyway.
I think you just throw Kamala out there, right?
Why not? I mean, she's a VP. She's a VP already, and why not? I
Yeah,
wouldn't throw the young guys at this because you're crippling their careers at right at the onset.
yeah, I agree. Zag, what is your take on it?
I
I'm
think
interested.
I think Democrats, based off of their rhetoric the last 10 years with the woke stuff, they have to choose Harris. Um, but you could bypass her with a woman of color as well, with say like a Michelle Obama, who Ted Cruz believes will become the nominee for the Democrat Party. But I think it's going to be one of those two. Um, and I'm still not sure Biden is going to be replaced. Um, he's going to try to hold off as long as he can for various reasons. He and his family have tremendous amounts of interest in maintaining a power for themselves. And you've seen Hunter and you've seen Jill a lot more. Their presence has been more profound the last few weeks. They've been around him more. They're probably making sure he doesn't sign anything and all of that. And it is a fact. The Democrat Party is now a divided party. They're not coalescing around Biden. They don't think Biden's the best candidate. Better or worse, there are people gunning for him. And like, I think that is not good. What is it now? 2 weeks left in July, basically. Yikes. Like we're 3 months, we're 3.5 months or less away from the general. So I think the left needs to make up their mind quickly. Biden has a lot of money. Biden still is the only one, if you look at all the polls, runs best head to head against Trump. Some favor others in some situations, but overall, if you take all the polls that are most recent versions of them, he is still there. No one on the grassroots has said they won't donate for him. It's mostly the large corporate donors that are concerned, or the large political forces that are concerned about him. So there's definitely a struggle, and I'm not sure he's been able to make the proper reassurances in the last week. And I think Trump's assassination attempt really amplified the need in some people's minds to get rid of him. So I think the whole COVID thing, a lot of people say, okay, now's the moment. He's going to come in and he's like, this is all too much for me. But if I knew Joe Biden, I would tell you that that's far from reality. I believe he is much more in control than we think. And I think he's going to stay on. I really do. I mean, I don't think he's going to get replaced. I mean, they're going to try, but I don't think it's going to work. So we'll see. A lot of people disagree with that, though.
I just don't see how he. I don't know. I would. If you're going to sacrifice somebody, I mean, you might as well just sacrifice Biden, right? Just run him through. But
you might as well. I mean, but
it's such a predicament, right? It's such a predicament.
Well, Scott, before the donors made a lot of noise after that debate, my intuition was that Biden would run and win, and then in short order, within a year and a half, would say, I'm out, I've resigned. Kamala, probably within a year or less, actually, would come in and take over, and that would basically be her term, see how she'd do, and then she'd be able to run for another at least one more term. So I thought that was the play. Getting rid of him early is an indication, in my opinion, that somebody's very nervous. And they're even if you agree with the mail-in issues, that even with all of that, they're not sure the Democrats have the votes in certain areas, which would mean we're panicking. We want somebody else.
I mean, I don't even know if you play this to win. This is almost like a tank bowl now. You just lose, and you know you're going to lose, and you strategize for the loss. And I think that they could absolutely destroy Donald Trump if they put him into a bad position when Donald Trump comes into office.
The Democrats would never play for a loss here. I think they're too close to achieving a lot of legislation that will fundamentally change the country for better or for worse, especially with taxes. I think they're really working here on something, and that's why they want to bring in a new face. Old policies, new face.
Clown, any 2 cents on this?
Yeah, it's weird to think that they'd play to lose. I don't see it. Their whole shtick is kind of trying to stay in power, and then there's the optics of it. Like you're alienating your base by being like, you know what, we can't win this. You gotta at least, I guess for optics sake.
I mean, you definitely
the illusion that you're trying.
You definitely pretend. You put on a show, you make it theater, but at the end of the day, you know you're going to lose, right? Especially with, like you said, he's a living martyr. Even the Democrats are like, man, I'll probably vote for Trump now. I mean, that's crazy, dude. That swing is crazy.
I think they should counter this whole thing with people wearing bandages over their ears by wearing, clip-on elf ears. Look, we have twice as much ear. We're better.
It just makes you a bigger target.
Well, his documents case in Florida was thrown out due to the sort of sketchy stuff with the special prosecutor, special counsel that was named. That's a huge win for Trump. I would imagine now the court's ruling was like a little dicey. It doesn't necessarily establish that the executive has that there's no checks and balances on it. It basically said that you can't come after somebody for like a non-violent crime that you personally commit with your hands, not an order. Like that you can't come after somebody for basic bitch stuff in like the duty of office.
Oh,
I moved these
is this the
documents
immunity
here, and
ruling?
like stuff like that. You just can't do it. It's just a waste of American people's. It's just a waste of the American people's time and business. Like we just don't do it, and that's, in my opinion, all the court affirmed. And now some people on the left and even some more moderate jurisprudence people are like, I can't believe the court did this. The court's absolving any wrongdoing of the executive moving forward. They're giving them carte blanche now, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm sorry, but like, we're supposed to elect decent people. And they're like, Donald Trump is not decent. He's ruined like the precedent. So like, there are a lot of very angry people. And like, I know personally some moderate Democrats that are really enraged that Trump got an assassination attempt, because they think this helps him so much that they're like, this is so annoying that this happened. My God, like this is crazy. So they think of it as a huge stroke of luck. And so that's kind of why I think there is this like visceral reaction of panic. Like, oh God, not only is our candidate inept and senile and geriatric in all these ways, but the opponent is getting massive rally because someone just tried to kill him. He survived it. And now he's got this unifying, humble message. And people love that momentum. You can feel it building. So like that, they're like, it's to them, like, this is serious. And then to touch on Ukraine, Scott, I'll end here. You're now seeing European politicians saying, oh boy, we don't know what the future brings with our security agreements with Trump. Then you have the Ukrainian politicians like Zelensky saying, my God, it's going to be very difficult to run Ukraine with Trump in the White House. Like all of these things just basically letting me know that foreign players still have a say in the matter, and they could still mess around with our elections. There might be another surprise still, you know?
I think it's so screwy that people are viewing this as, it's lucky or it won the election. Like, okay, I said it twice in this stream alone, but I mean, it's a very worrying sign. It's from the outside looking in. I mean, America's always been a deeply divided, deeply polarized society, but it's out of hand. And what I'm seeing in the discourse is both the left and the right are, this is the other side's fault. They're the ones doing it. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
And you guys need to kind of acknowledge that.
You guys.
Well, I'm not. You guys are. I mean, you guys in general, Americans.
No, hey, whoa.
You guys gotta kind of acknowledge that it takes two to tango, and you gotta acknowledge the problem before you could mend it, and it needs mending because, dude, we're right next door, and everything that you guys do affects us in way down the line in significant ways. And I've started seeing this kind of rhetoric showing up in the in the Canadian alt-right. I'm not going to call it the alt-right, but it's the fringe right, and it's spreading into right circles where they think they're the vanguard fighting for the future of Western civilization, and everyone who disagrees with them is evil and blah blah blah. And you see this rhetoric from both sides, from both Democrats and Republicans in America, and it's, what the hell's going on?
It's almost like not alt-right. It's like aggressively Western, almost.
I'm calling it the alt-right because I'm talking about
No, I get what you're saying, and I get that that's usually the group that is attached to that. I'm just saying in terms of like it's not like it's very different from what I would say like European right is, right? Like the alt right in Europe, if you will.
Well, I mean, the European right is in Europe. Liberalism is a conservative value.
Yes, I'm aware. I just meant more of like the the nationalistic Nazi types.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking specifically about Maxime Bernier's People's Party. I was in a Canadian politics space recently, and I didn't know it was a PPC space. It said, Canadian commie something something something. I thought it was a Canadian commie space. I was tricked,
I was duped.
and these people are insane. But the rhetoric sounds like a lot of what I hear coming out of the U.S. Like it's spreading here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we're typically not quite that polarized. It's been starting in the recent last 2 decades, but we're not that polarized.
Buckle up, buddy. It's just gonna get worse. And it is all gonna snap back at some point. The reaction to it is going to be I don't know. I honestly think we're going to be in a war here very soon. I don't think that the election is super important either way. So I think we're going to be in a war here very quickly, and then I think after that, the whole board is just going to change. We're going to go from a peacetime country that's dealing with all of these like cultural divides and everything, and then we're going to have some casus belli black swan event that will just get us all.
Yeah, because that will overshadow the cultural divide.
Oh, of course,
force unity. And
well,
also,
center left and center right doesn't care about small things when it comes to the country, like national security and stuff. If something devastating happens
under those pretexts, it's like, hey, look, we're just attacked. You rally now, or you'll be ostracized forever. We won't forget.
Yeah, it's just like 9/11.
Like, yes, yep, no problem. Yep. Patriotism, rah rah, hoorah, yes.
And look how much dangerous, stupid shit came out of 9/11. I mean,
right, all that
bad
thing of like Middle East bad, must bomb, must destroy.
It was just crazy that we didn't actually go for any of the people who were responsible, like at all. Eventually, kind of we did, but realistically, I mean, Saudi Arabia. Nothing happened with them. We just bombed Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. We would have bombed Lebanon and Jordan as well. We would have gone through the whole Middle East.
I'm just saying, I remember in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, Bibi on CNN being like, "No, but you have to carpet bomb every Arab country from Asia all the way to Morocco. It is the only way."
Which would have been a wild campaign. Bombing every Muslim country probably would have put us on a radar too.
And there were plans for it.
Yeah, I know. No, they were going to overthrow every single government in the Middle East. What do they say? 7 countries in 8 years or something like that? They thought they were all going to fall like dominoes. That was Cheney's boys.
And I can't help but notice how many fewer Ukraine flags or signs or bumper stickers I'm seeing, and I live in a pretty politically charged area with, I would say, a decent number of foreigner or European, Western European sympathetic types. And I think it's drying up, not because Americans don't think Ukraine is an investment. I didn't say blindly throw money towards a meat grinder in a war you're losing. I said investment, okay? And they don't really realize that it's so cringe, the message from their PR platform, especially people that are more aware of the conflict. It is so cringe and disgusting that you basically have to just shudder and say, oh, yeah, okay, look, I don't want to talk about Ukraine. Like, yeah, Putin bad, Russia evil, but like, my God, is it cringe to have to be a Ukraine supporter these days? So they just shut up about it.
It's so bizarre, my dude. It's so, I get it. Some people are single issue voters. I'm not going to chastise anyone for what their single issue is, but if your single issue is foreign policy, when this is what your domestic policy looks like, your presidential candidate and former president was just shot.
Yeah.
There's a gunman. A gunman showed up at your RNC. The left and the right are at each other's throats in Minecraft. It's not gotten physical quite yet, but it's certainly on that path. And you're worried about foreign policy,
right? You're worried about Ukraine. I mean,
Whoa,
Ukraine was.
whoa! You guys sound like isolationists and America firsters.
No, but I'm saying, but like Scott, if you think of it, there are people now. The Ukraine lobby is growing in this country at a pretty exponential rate, and now it is exerting influence on political groups where they're trying to make it synonymous with like Israel must support. It's they're trying to couple it in with all of that jargon, and then finally legislation that will protect it in various ways, and making it a full-time campaign issue. And Vaughn and I are pointing out how short-sighted that is and how insignificant at the end of the day it is. And even people like David will say, oh, we've given relatively little in money. Okay, well, if that's the case, well, then we can sort of taper back significantly as we realize Ukraine can no longer defend, say, its very well fortified fortress cities that they've had in place for a decade, right?
Like, I'm not even concerned in this context about how the war in Ukraine's playing out or the consequences of it or so on and so forth. I'm just saying, to make your single issue Ukraine or any foreign policy issue when this is a state of affairs domestically, it blows my mind. I'm not saying it can't be an issue. I'm saying I don't understand making it the issue that makes or breaks who you're going to vote for. There are more important things right now. It could be a secondary concern, sure, but
Yeah,
it's what I was saying. You have to acknowledge that there's a problem before you could mend it. If you don't acknowledge there's a problem, and both the left and the right are doing this, it's the other guy, it's them, not us. We're innocent. It only gets worse because you don't even acknowledge that there's something that needs fixing.
it's like that's why I'm like, I don't know. I'm so realistic in my thinking and my approach. I feel like, and so pragmatic that I don't ever do that. I don't blame one side ever. Even like, man, even like the worst people in human history, I'm still like serial killers. I even go, yeah, but what was their childhood like? Like, what led them to that point? Like, did they have very much like? I know you have a choice to like kill people. Not trying to excuse that, but even in that scenario, I was still trying. I still try, and I don't ever blame one side. But yeah, it is getting to a point where people are just one issue voters. And you're right, when it's foreign policy, it's like we have so much going wrong here. Why are you focused on that? Just so I can get it off the screen real quick, I just wanted to point out this Germany plans to have military aid for Ukraine. Just along with what Zag and you Clown were saying earlier about Western support faltering. You have JD Vance and Trump coming into the White House, and then Germany announcing they're going to have the already insufficient equipment and financial aid or military aid to Ukraine.
Honestly, it makes sense. Germany gets a lot of flack for how it's handling this, but take out the United States and take out the EU, Germany has given the most, more than anyone else, several times more than the Brits. It makes sense to have it. They're especially given the state of their economy, not just after the pipeline, but they have to their defense industry especially is a pale shadow of what it once was. Like, it's really sad seeing Germany in this state.
So it's only going to get worse too, man. Germany's just starting down their slope. They're not at the bottom yet.
And that's the other thing with Germany.
Their energy problems
But
continue.
by law, they cannot run a deficit. If they run a deficit, they have to immediately raise taxes to counterbalance it. So it makes sense that they cut the foreign aid because it risks incurring a deficit. they didn't become like the beating heart of the machine that keeps the EU running by being fiscally irresponsible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. Do you guys think NATO survives the next 10 years? Do you think NATO is going to become this instrumental alliance that kind of holds the Western world together against what I would consider rising hegemony in the East?
Yes, the scam will continue as long as the U.S. dollar remains constant and the number one used world currency, because then you can easily draw people in with loans and IMF money and all of these things. It's like a 1-2 punch. So
Do you think Trump will try to force some change, and now that he's in his second term?
Well, I think actually one thing I will say, a lot of the NATO countries, if you look at the graph, have made an effort to increase spending to at least arrive at 2% or have 2 to 2.5% within sights in the next, like, at least 2 to 3 year, other
Not
than
us.
maybe
Go
Italy
Canada.
and Spain. Otherwise, everybody is actually like, shit, okay, a little more. We'll squeeze, because we're afraid if Trump does come in, he'll come down and say, all right, guys, you're out if you don't do X, Y, Z. And they'll say, we're doing it. So I think it's going to be tokenism. Like, yes, we're spending a little more. We're spending a little bit more.
So then Europe is in literally a Soviet Union-esque position where they are forced to increase military spending for a war that they aren't fighting when they're already running into deindustrialization issues, I guess, and economic woes, and also demographic issues. I mean, this is going to become a real problem in Europe in the next 10 to 15 years. So I mean, Greece isn't getting better. You're going to have to be dealing with some sort of
they're all
Ukraine
demographically.
You're
Refugees from Ukraine, refugees from North Africa, refugees from the Middle East, from Central Africa.
And the Ukrainian refugee crisis might get really bad here soon.
It could get really bad.
Don't improve.
It could get really bad.
So I've said this the whole time, Europe's just left holding this bag, and they're also now trying to increase military spending because the U.S. might drop out, or because the U.S. maybe perhaps demands that they reach that military spending. I mean, that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard to do, especially after they just gave all of their military equipment away. I mean, they might hit 2% just because they have to try to replace what they've been sending to Ukraine. But do you keep investing that after the war is over?
The 2%, if I'm not mistaken, includes a minimum 20% on procurement annually.
Absolutely. Procurement.
But I don't think NATO is going anywhere. I don't think the United States is going to leave NATO. I think that's an isolationist pipe dream. It's just too central to U.S. interests, to strategic interests especially, and maintaining hegemony to do away with.
But what if we don't have an option? I mean, we can't keep the Red Sea open. Are we really a hegemony anymore?
You can if you want to do what it takes, but there's no political will for that.
Here's the thing is we talk about this do what it takes sort of mentality, and I'm all about winning. Trust me, I'm not. But do we have what it takes? Do we have the domestic will to go and fight wars that are not popular but need to be fought and won? Right? We don't have that in the United States. We don't have any of that national pride and unity at all.
It's such a weird thing. Because, I can't believe I'm about to say this, because I'm not saying it was a good thing and I'm not encouraging it. But the U.S., when I grew up, something like this, they'd go in and, flatten as many countries as they need to get it done. And no one would bat an eye and be like, for the troops. God bless America.
Yeah.
But
we would actually we would blame them for killing our troops.
But now, Ansar Allah has shut down the Red Sea. This is insane. If you guys remember back in October when I was talking about this, about the how I expected that the Americans would have to do something, because you have to uphold the Mahan Doctrine. It's not an option. It's not negotiable. It's the basis of the sea lanes, are the basis of American hegemony. You have to react.
Yeah.
But sending a strike group or whatever it is they sent into the Red Sea first made matters worse, because now nobody's shipping through there. And if you're not going to do what it takes to get it done, even if there wasn't even a plan, I don't want to give people too much credit with like 47 dimensional chess or whatnot. But the Houthis did this knowing that the Americans would have to react. But the question is, did they have a plan? Is this a trap?
I think the entire Iranian and Muslim, I don't think that Iran and Hamas are in the same boat at all. I don't think that they're close like that as like a lot of people like make it seem. But I do think that their whole strategy right now in the Middle East is baiting these countries and the Western alliance basically into these unwinnable fights. Like Gaza was an unwinnable situation for Israel, and Hamas perfectly baited them. I don't know if that's what they were going for, because now that I am starting to realize that a lot of the casualties were because of the Hannibal Doctrine and stuff like that. That the immediate goals of Hamas might have been slightly different, but this was a very large coordinated attack that they knew had to have repercussions, right? They knew something was going to come back. I don't know if they thought that they were going to kill so many Israelis in the process. Like 1,400 Israelis died, and like I said, a lot of those were probably because of the Hannibal Doctrine. At least the civilian casualties, maybe not so much the military casualties, but the Hamas, whatever plan or no plan, Israel is in a very, very bad situation in Gaza right now. They have lost a lot of favor around the world. Their geopolitical position has weakened tremendously. I think it's given a lot of unity to sort of the Islamic resistance, if you will, the Iranian
Absolutely.
groups.
It's look. I don't know what Hamas expected to achieve on October 7th. They had to have expected Israel would strike back. They have to. They have to. But they appear to have played their hand almost to perfection, and that is, again, I have the disclaimer: analysis isn't advocacy. But in a lopsided matchup like that, you have to figure that they intended to weaponize humanitarian law, and that the objective is, because they can't beat Israel militarily, but they could beat them politically, and that's what we're seeing. Like, the world, to a large degree, has turned against Israel, and even in the States, there's a debate. Like, the incumbent establishment, is still on Israel's side, but look at the demographics, especially amongst Generation Z, where support for Palestine is outstripping support for Israel, and give it a generation to, and like, it's didn't think I'd see the day. And the problem also is, Israel does not appear to have the stomach to do what they need to do to achieve their objectives here. They haven't eliminated Hamas. All their objectives have failed, and to achieve their objective of annihilating Hamas, they're going to have to go 1982 Homs on Rafah, and I don't know that they have the stomach for it. It's a really bad state to be in. And we appear to have lost Scott.
I saw that too. Yeah.
What do you think, Zach?
I've said that the Israelis are going to have to decide one or the other. I don't think the international community, as established right now, will allow a push into southern Lebanon with tensions still unsettled in in Gaza, and I think that's partially why you might be seeing a push for Trump now, one way or another. Assassination attempt, wink, wink. Because there may be parties that believe Trump can offer, that road to salvation. We will allow you to do anything you want. We are 100% with the Zionists. We will give you the backing you need. You can fight both of your wars. They're just, they are righteous, blah, blah, blah. So I think barring a situation like that, which is becoming very, very possible, I think Israel's going to have to really tamper down their expectations. But if they can get guarantees from the U.S. military that we will keep on rearming you above and beyond the usual agreements so you can prosecute this, that becomes problematic for stability in that area, because I think just, the powers that be will say, okay, we're going to now force the Iranian proxies, et cetera, to come up with a response to our escalation. And I think Hezbollah is not going to react similarly. Oh, I think we have Scott back.
Yeah, my driver thing crashed again, bro. It's getting so annoying. And it's like my all of my USBs, like my mouse that lights up and my keyboard that lights up and my camera won't turn on and my mic won't turn back on. I could hear you guys. I heard you the entire time.
How many USB devices do you have plugged in?
4, and one's a stereo.
Oh wow, that should not be causing that.
That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out, dude. I've been toying with it.
Well,
It's inconsistent too. It makes no sense. I don't know what triggers it.
Well,
See,
Scott,
this
I will say
happens to
this.
me because I have like 16 plus USB devices.
I know if it was something like that, it would make sense.
I will say this. Being a homeowner, I have headaches all the time. I just had my sprinkler guys out last week. Things seem to be okay. I run it. It worked all right once. Now I run it. And the 3 heads that were still problematic, lo and behold, problematic again.
Oh,
Low
yeah.
pressure. So that's just, it is what it is, dude.
Oh, yeah. You're a gardener freak, huh?
You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I hate when stuff doesn't work.
Yeah, you need those sprinklers running good for your beautiful backyard.
For my yard, I mean, in this damn heat we've had here, although it's finally cooled off today, but
yeah, but it's humid, right?
Yeah, it's actually been a little less humid than usual, but it's now creeping back into like the 50%.
The humidity keeps the plants alive.
Yeah, it does. It's not as dry as it had been. The dry heat's rough on the plants.
I have to ask your yard. Do you garden? Do you grow things, or is it like?
I have lots of nice like flowers and trees and flowering trees and things like that. But I bought the house and the garden was already very well shaped out,
which is so nice,
which is great. And I have the landscapers. They come in the summer. I have them. They only come once every other week, and they know what the deal is, and they mulch and they take care of it. I do some stuff too, but my dog is the one that mostly loves it, just like roaming around. I have a fence, so it makes it easier until the mailman tries to come in. But we're working on putting out a mailbox.
If there's one thing I miss about being a homeowner, it's being able to grow things in a backyard.
Yes.
I could if I wanted to, but I would have to likely put some sort of mesh netting over it because there are so many rabbits, and especially the biggest pests are the chipmunks because they have a voracious appetite. So they'll just take stuff, and you'll notice like a few things have been dropped along the way because they just can't take so much, especially like September, October when they're really storing up. They're quite difficult. So you got to put all your stuff in netting.
See, that's fucked. Because you immediately think of netting for a garden, but the Russian Navy has yet to think of returning torpedo netting to protect the Black Sea ports.
Imagine how many more ships they'd have if they had torpedo netting with like a bumper. You know what I mean?
Scott, you're muted.
Muted.
Thank you. If you don't do, if you don't, if it happens one time, how do you not adjust to it? Like, this, it's so wild to me.
It's
That
retarded.
I've talked about this before, man. It's they should have re-headquartered the BSF to Novorossiysk decades ago, but
yeah,
it's tradition. It's always been in Crimea. It's sheer. It's you know what I'm talking about. It's that
it's ego.
specifically Russian kind of
It's
arrogance.
hubris. Yep.
We call it machismo around here. It's that's like Mexican like bravado, like that attitude, like you have to be a man, you have to be like tough all the time. It's a little different than what you're talking about,
Yeah,
but
but that's what gets you killed.
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. No, yeah, that people killed around here all the time.
Not to change the subject too much, but Trump is still speaking.
Still?
He is still going at it.
Good God,
Is
man.
he recounting the long storied history of the Trump clan going that starts in the year 47,000 BC? Like, is this we're looking at a Putin interview kind of thing?
Yeah,
Where
I
he's
was gonna
just
say, is
keep
he talking
going?
about like agriculture statistics?
Well, he had been talking like automotive, crime, trade, all sorts of things. Apparently, now he's saying that he will keep your sons and daughters safe. We will help bring stability to the world. Blah blah blah. Now, basically, all of his campaign promises getting revealed. I mean, so the one thing I will say is a lot of and I know they're not U.S. voters, but a lot of sort of well-informed but still normal, basic bitch foreigners who I know or communicate with will tell me, well, you know, you guys have a difficult choice because whatever. But I will say, one of the guys at least can stand there and give the impression, give the facade that he knows what he's doing, right or wrong. He's got his own convictions. He can walk a straight line. He's not weak physically. And one of the guys has no clue where they are or what they're doing, and that's very clear. And so America at least needs the optics of strength rather than weakness. And I completely agree with that assessment. If you're just looking at this from a very objective, unbiased position, if you agree both people are equally as bad or equally as good, one of them just has their faculties and one of them doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's politics, right? It's you choose the lesser of two evils. You seldom get the chance to vote for a candidate that one to one represents your interests. You vote for the closest thing. You vote for the less bad out of about the available options, and that's pretty clear because okay, let's say Biden wins. Um, like Scott was saying, I've seen people go through this too. This he reminds me of my grandmother, like in the last year or two of her life.
You can just tell by how soft he's speaking and how he turns his whole body to do anything. He
He is
has no,
seeing things that
he doesn't
aren't
do
there.
this. He doesn't do this anymore, and that's a really bad sign.
It's like my grandmother used to do that, and it's because she was seeing things that weren't there.
Yeah.
And at that point, she hadn't gone all in on it yet, so she was still kind of not speaking to them because she doesn't know if they're real or not. And
They are real.
it just falls apart very quickly from there. So let's say he wins, he's heavens forbid dead a year or two in, or like completely incapacitated.
Yeah, I mean they'll remove him instantly.
Oh, at least, yeah. He's the placeholder. He always said that he was a bridge for the future. So Biden was basically telling you, I will get out of the way. Just give me some dignity. And right now, what's happened to him with less than 4 months to go is completely, in his probably estimation, undignified attack on a guy who, in his mind, saved America from Trump. Don't you forget it, blah, blah, blah. So I think there's a lot of resentment, a lot of resentful feelings, especially from
that
Biden.
torpedoes him right out the bat. If you stop and think about it for even just a few minutes, it means a vote for Biden's a vote for Kamala, and Kamala is not a known quantity because what's her experience in office? She's a VP, yes, but how much of
She
that?
had a mediocre Senate record. More importantly, she was pretty bad as California AG, she was pretty harsh. She locked up a lot of like
African Americans.
small-time non-violent cannabis offenders.
Yep, a lot of weed crimes.
A lot of weed crimes,
in
and she'd be
leftist
like, "Well,
circles
I'm making
here,
money."
she's known as the cop.
Yeah, no, she was following a business in California of the time of we're gonna make money off of these offenses. We're gonna basically clog up the system, and we're gonna like each time you get hit with one, it's like another $2,000, another $2,000, another two. So like California had no shortage of it, you know. And she never moved to decriminalize
that's the problem.
She
Then
wanted
why
full felonies? So
why even do this bait and switch? Just run Kamala from the get go.
Because she's not going to win.
Yeah, exactly. You would need.
Hey! Let's just get one thing very clear. I'll vote for a woman. Women won't vote for another woman. So a woman president is never going to happen.
Like women are petty about that.
Unless the other choice is just so awful that that there's no other choice really. But even then, the men will probably decide that election. Women just do not.
So you're saying women will vote for another woman if that woman is running against Hillary?
Maybe, but even then, dude, women are just cats, dude. You just can't have them in a room too close together for too long. Like dogs will pile, but cats will fight, and I don't know, man.
Hillary is the worst person right now you could possibly run against.
If they put Hillary, that would be so.
You can't do that. Yeah,
that would be peak alternate reality that we're living in right now.
Hillary tried. Hillary lost.
What was I wonder what the moment was. Where was the split? Where we ended up becoming the alternate timeline. It's impossible to know, honestly. But at some point, at some place, everything switched around, and we could potentially have Hillary v. Trump 2.0. That debate's going to go so hard.
I'm just waiting for the debate, like just to be announced, like round 2, fight.
Hillary doesn't have the mafia backing. I still believe she doesn't have it. If she had it, people would be clamoring for her. I think there's 4 possibilities. She's a
nightmare, bro.
Yeah, she is amongst
after 2016. There's no way they're gonna pick her. There's no way. There's no way.
She's toast, and she's resentful for it.
Yeah. But that what you saw in 2016 is going to be way worse than whoever they sacrifice in this one. 2016 for Hillary was the end of her career right there. Boom.
And
I dropped an axe on it.
That wasn't even a sacrifice. That was I'm
saying it was worse.
Crush them.
Well, the problem with Hillary was that a lot of people in her own party, fixers and influencers, supported Trump's criminal faction that backed him, and like sort of like the Israeli Bibi world, especially Bill, like the Russian Jewish world, blah blah blah. So, and Bill is basically like, "Sorry, Hillary, you're shit out of luck," and that's like apparently Hillary threw something at him when it became clear that because it's like many people were like, "Okay, good, Hillary lost." Even her own husband was basically in a different camp. Now it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry my wife lost, but like we're all going to do very well now. Don't you worry." So I think that's, if you look at it from that perspective, like who on the left can bring that money and that power forward and get the backing, because like when the Teamsters president spoke, and now the auto worker union guy is not coming out and he's waiting. He hasn't given Biden an endorsement of any kind. He's waiting, which is terrible. It's terrible. So everyone knows something's going on.
Yeah.
And if you were comfortable with your candidate, you'd give them the endorsement a month before, 2 months before, a year before the general election. And they're not doing that. They're waiting, which is really telling. So
you know what they should do? I'm too young. Never mind. I said the DNC should just sacrifice me.
No, you're definitely too young. But
I'll go out there.
As I said
That debate would be
about a
wild.
year ago, I will be ballot stuffing for Brad Pierce. Brad Pierce for president.
Sweet.
Who
Is
is
that
that?
guy on Twitter?
Oh, Brad Pierce, the Wayward Rabbler.
Yeah, the Bradler.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
we can't have him as president. His
The
his
Wayward
voice is too much of a turnoff to people. God love him, but they'd be like, "Oh God," it'd be like the Robert Kennedy situation. It is.
I like
true.
Brad.
I know. I like him a lot. Great guy, but I think even he realizes that because at first he'd come onto the spaces and people would be like, "Dude, go away, shut up," and he's like, "Is it my voice?" And it's like, "Yes." So I think he understands, but we chat and he likes to comment on things. His articles are quite good. So
His articles are good.
He is a fantastic political writer.
yeah,
I'm
like
also
like
a big
Rabbler.
fan of his podcast, of his and Lexi's podcast.
He's a good dude.
Oh man. All right. I think we should wrap it up there. It's been a 52-minute or a 50-minute bro chat. Thank you so much, Clown. Thank you so much, Zag. Anything you guys want to say before we get out of here?
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, always a good time. Hang on. Wild Ride's coming. I hope.
Dude, Wild Ride is coming. It's gonna get pretty intense. See you guys back here in a week.
Roger that.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, that sounds good. I want to do one of these every week. So be on the lookout for these every week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and just listening to us sit here and babble. Kind of, I don't know. I enjoy it. So take care. Be safe. See you next time.